Legend of Total War here, and today I just want to talk briefly about some information that was leaked on Reddit, sort of leaked, that the next Total War Saga game is apparently going to be Total War Troy. Now, there's no 100% confirmation about this yet. Creative Assembly has not announced it, but basically what happened is on the Reddit, which I'll just show here. I'll link everything in the description that I'm posting so you can check it out for yourself. That apparently a trademark has been reserved for Total War Saga Troy. It was filed on the 23rd of July, so that was fairly recent, about 2 weeks ago. Now, this isn't made public knowledge, so, I mean, people can find it, but it wasn't announced. So somebody had to go digging for this to go and find it. Now, this could potentially be a red herring. This might be a joke, and I've seen Creative Assembly pull red herrings before. Like when I was at Creative Assembly back in 2015, we went looking through the files to try and find, because we were on their computers, we went to try to find out what the next historical Total War game was going to be. This was after Total War Attila. And we found Total War Stone Age, and we knew it was bullshit, okay? They put that there deliberately because they knew we were going to look, we couldn't find any evidence at all about Three Kingdoms, which was the next historical title, because we knew at that point that Warhammer 1, the trilogy was going to be announced. We just didn't know what the next historical title was going to be. Now, that could be the case, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is the case. I think that's the least likely, because things have been leaked before with Total War. So much DLC has been leaked in the past, as well before it was announced, largely due to Steam achievements that show up, and then people just understand what it's going to be. But, you know, I don't know whether or not to believe this, but let's just give it the benefit of the doubt for the sake of this video and discuss what a Total War Saga Troy could entail, and what it should be in order to be a good title. Because we've got to admit that Thrones of Britannia, the first Total War Saga, was a bit of a failure. Now, hopefully, in Creative Assembly was able to learn from Thrones of Britannia, and I think they learned a lot from it in terms of Three Kingdoms as well, because Three Kingdoms was vastly better than Thrones of Britannia, and yet Three Kingdoms has many features that were first implemented in Thrones of Britannia. So Creative Assembly definitely does learn from their mistakes, just depends on how long it takes them to learn from them. Now, I don't think that this game here is going to use the Total War Attila engine. I think that engine is done and dusted. I don't think we're going to see any new games off that. I think they could have used it, but I think that because Troy is set in a sort of a fantasy settings, because we don't really have that much, you know, concrete historical evidence about it, only that it probably did actually occur. Like the characters of Achilles and Hector were obviously a little bit exaggerated, to say the least. Just like in the Three Kingdoms, the romance of the Three Kingdoms, it sort of fits to use the Three Kingdoms engine. Now, here's the thing about the Three Kingdoms engine, if they're going to use it. The successes of the Three Kingdoms engine is largely due to the campaign features, not the characters. I think the characters is actually one of the weakest points in Three Kingdoms. And it's largely because, like, if they're going to have duels in Total War Saga Troy, I don't want to see that, because the duels in Three Kingdoms, they're not good. They're not very interesting, and they haven't really done anything to improve upon them. And if we're just going to see the exact same thing again, I just don't want to see that. I don't really mind that much. I just would rather not see it than see it, personally. Now, comparing Records mode to Romance mode with Three Kingdoms, personally, having played both, I preferred Romance mode because I just felt like it was more fun. But the thing is, I would much rather see a grounded Total War game that was a little bit more based on history than fantasy. Like, when it comes to Warhammer, I've got no problem with larger-than-life characters. Totally fits the genre. But when you're talking about history and you're saying, this actually happened, you know, you can't have Achilles take on entire armies by himself if you're going to go down that this is history route. If you're going to go, oh, look, it's we're taking the the fantasy side of it, taking the exaggerated side, that's fine as well. But I think a lot of historical fans are getting a bit tired of that and want to see a much more grounded Total War game. I know I would like to see it, but I'll be fine either way because I don't mind. I don't mind being given a fantasy game or a historical game, but I think it's time to get a proper historical game because Three Kingdoms kind of isn't. It's a little bit on the fantasy side of things, just a little bit. Again, would like to see it more grounded. Again, it's going to be up to Creative Assembly to decide what they want to do, but based on the development cycles of like Total War titles in general, there is a sort of pattern and evolution between them. There's not huge leaps in between individual titles. They usually make a title and then they have a bunch of spin-off titles before they do the next big leap. And since Three Kingdoms was the next big leap, we're probably going to have a few games that are going to be very similar to Three Kingdoms. So, Total War Saga Troy, I would say if it is the next Saga game, expect it to be more like Total War Three Kingdoms than Thrones of Britannia. That's my opinion. Now, obviously, I think that the campaign mechanics should be there. If we're seeing population, that would be great. That doesn't mean that it will actually be there. I really, really doubt they're going to use the Attila engine because I think that's done and dusted now. I mean, that's a 32-bit engine. I just don't see them going back to that. Now, part of the failures of Total War Saga Thrones of Britannia was that it just felt like a really dumbed down game. It felt like they took Total War Attila, stripped a bunch of features, and added a bunch of gimmicks. Now, if they do that with Three Kingdoms, strip a bunch of features, add a bunch of gimmicks, I think that this game will fail. But I hope that due to the feedback that Creative Assembly got from Thrones of Britannia and feedback, what we'll actually see is a bit more of a refined version of Three Kingdoms, but on a smaller scale. We're not going to be seeing like all of Persia get involved or anything like that. It's most likely going to be all of Greece, if not half of Greece, and a very small sliver of the coast of Anatolia. It's probably going to be very similar to the Wrath of Sparta campaign map in terms of the map size, and probably the scale, and maybe the number of settlements. With that. But in terms of that, probably have fewer cultures, because in the Wrath of Sparta campaign, there was actually Persian cultures, and there was a bit of difference between some of the Hellenistic cultures. I would say that with the Total War Saga Troy one, it's probably going to have two distinct differences. You're going to have sort of like the Trojan culture and the Hellenistic one. The Hellenistic one probably being the more dominant over the map. Probably. I don't really know. I'm not an expert on this time period. Or many others for that matter. But overall, I think this is going to be something interesting to see. I personally would have thought that the next Warhammer game was going to come before the next Saga game, but I suppose that Saga games don't actually take a whole lot of time to develop. Now, when is this game likely to be announced? Hard to say, because usually what they do before they announce a Total War game, they have a bunch of trailers that they need to make, and that, I don't know how long they take. But if they're not finished, they're not going to announce this until it is done. They're going to have their trailers done, because that's their big selling points to push pre-orders, is those trailers. They're not just going to come out and say, "Oh, you got us. Yep, the next game is Troy. We'll have it up on Steam soon." That's not going to happen. But anyway, that's my thoughts of it. I am looking forward to it. Do have a few concerns, but overall, I am looking forward to a good game set in the Trojan time period. I don't ever want a Total War game to fail. I know Thrones of Britannia wasn't very successful, and I probably had a lot of contribution towards that because I gave it such a bad review, but it wasn't a very good game. That's why people to this day just don't play it. All I can hope is that Total War Saga Troy is going to be a good game, a good Total War game. If it is, regardless of whether I get early access or not, which, let's be face it, I won't, I'll give it a good review. I'm looking forward to a good, grounded, or fantasy Total War game. And even if it's not Troy, I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next time, fuckers.